So let's talk about game, because you guys have seen, I mean, over the years, you've seen, gosh darn, like game after game. And we see stuff on TV, but I know you guys see way more footage. Being privileged to be a part of the show, I know we film for several hours.
Right.
And there's only a half-hour segment.
Yeah.
So what are some of the best tactics, people, guys you've seen? What do they display? And then, flip side, what are some of the worst people you've seen on the show?
I'd say the most important thing that I've seen is that it's all about confidence. I mean, communication is 70% non-verbal. So really, it doesn't matter what you say. It's how you say it, how you present yourself. When you come up there kind of shy, like, hey, how you doing? I think you're pretty. She's like, I got more balls than this guy.
Right.
What do I want him for, right? When you come up and you're like, come here. You know what I mean? If you say that with confidence, she may be like, what's this guy all about?
Right.
You can get away with that, right?
Right.
If you're that confident in yourself.
Right.
So to me, it's all about how you present yourself.
I think if you like you said, if you sub-communicate failure upon the approach, don't be surprised if that's the result.
Right.
Because the female will jump into your frame. If you're coming in with a failing mindset, failing body language, a failing perspective,
right.
Who is she to change what you've created? You brought failure.
Right.
So here it is.
Yeah.
No number, no coochie, no dates, no nothing. Because you sub-communicated, that's what you wanted.
Right. So she's like, hey, here you go.
Exactly, here you go. I'm going to go with your frame. And Sheldon's absolutely right. It's all about your confidence. It's all about your chutzpah, how you walk into a room. You know what I mean? Shoulder blades back, chin up. You got to walk around like you're a world beater.
Yeah, I like to put it out there too. A lot of people think that when you're in the club, you're like, I need to get her. You need to realize that the women are there for a reason. Yeah, the music's great and they get a dance floor, but whatever. They're there to get hit on. They want to get hit on because when they go home, they want to be able to tell their girlfriends, this guy tried to pick me up, this guy was really hot, this guy looked like that.
Right.
This guy was grinding on me, I could feel him getting excited. They want those stories in the car going home.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
They want
some
them.
of them, absolutely. And then there's some of them there's, like you said, and I totally agree with that, where it's like, man, that guy was a real nice guy. Yeah. He didn't try to grab up on me. He was different. That's the big thing.
He was
He was a
actually
gentleman.
different
You know what?
because he was
Maybe
a
I do want
gentleman.
to get to know that guy. But they have their target the same way we do, depending on what it is.
Yeah, so don't assume that she's doing you a favor by talking to you.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I always assume that I'm doing her a favor. I'm letting her know that she's attractive. She should appreciate that.
How do you get to that point? Because, I mean, I don't know if you started like that. I know I didn't. But we're all men who are confident. We understand who we are. But I want to know, how did you guys get there? Like,
Books.
Sports, social, just being social, just having friends, having developing your personality over the years, right? Like, having a sense of comedy to your game.
Right.
The straightest way to a girl's heart is, to make her laugh, for sure. First and foremost, if you can make somebody laugh, it's instantly disarming. Know some jokes. Guys should know some jokes. Guys should be witty and have some banter ready. Right. Because there's nothing more, sort of attractive than, a little group getting together and having a good chuckle. And then that all of a sudden brings down everybody's, barriers. For sure. And then these girls are now warmed to actually seduction, the seduction element of it. Right. But you can't just go right into seduction. You have to, break down some barriers first. And humor is a great way to do it. And as far as like how you would approach, I mean, you said, how do you tell a girl that she's beautiful, right?
Right.
Well, the worst way you can do it is actually just go up to a girl and say you're beautiful, because that's what every douchebag in a club has been doing that night, right? Unless you want to maybe have direct, some very direct game, like, Peaches might get into. Yeah. But I think a good way to explain to a girl that she's attractive is to do it in an indirect way.
I was going to say, just building on your point there, the problem with walking to a woman and saying is, you're beautiful, is it's nebulous, right?
Good point.
What about her is beautiful, right? Like, you're a nice guy. Okay, well, why am I a nice guy? Am I a nice guy because you don't want to have sex with me, or am I a nice guy because I'm a gentleman, I have manners, I've been well raised?
Right.
So when you tell a woman she's beautiful, you're trying to get at the point that you got to say, look, you have beautiful eyes. Your eyes are so like wide and bright, they're like talking to me. Right. Now all of a sudden she's like, wow, this guy actually is paying attention to me as a person.
I've got a good example of the way you could spin it. Real easy. You look a lot like Angelina Jolie. Do you get that? But like, you're cuter. You're cute. You know what I mean? You kind of spin it like where they're going to be like, oh my God, he thinks I look like her, because everybody worships Angelina Jolie.
Right.
But then you spin it on them, and maybe you don't say cute, or maybe you say, but you're probably shorter than she is, or something, you know?
Right.
And you get her to like,
you can
what?
spin- wow,
What are you
dark side.
talking about? You know, like, so.
Between us right there is I love that line, but I would probably say you look like Angelina Jolie, but not quite as trashy. You know what I mean?
Right.
go
So
to
another
that.
spin,
Where
which is
the
a totally different feel.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
are your tattoos? Come on, you got to have a couple and get her to start maybe like, no, you know, showing some parts of her body or something, right?
Right.
Like, there's ways you can slip that in there, but that's an example of a way you could actually tell a girl she's attractive without being just so generic about it and boring.
Yeah, I think taking that approach is very common. And you
Taking
don't want
that approach?
Taking the approach of saying to a girl, "You're beautiful, you're attractive."
Okay, right.
It's
So
a very
yeah.
common approach, and the chances of 30 other guys before you and 30 other guys after you taking that approach is very high.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm better off going up to a girl saying, you know, I like to sodomize cats with ballpoint pens. You know what I mean?
But something tells me you weren't allowed to say that on Keys either.
No, I wasn't able to say that in Keys. But trust me.
Did we get that on tape?
And I'll tell you guys something. I've gotten a number by saying that. You know what I mean? If you approach it with the right swagger,
Right.
the right tonation,
Right.
you know, the right inflection,
Right.
and she knows you're joking. She knows you're joking. It's not. And I think my point is, it's not about what you say; it's about how you say it.
That's a very
And
strong.
And that's the key. And
Right.
you could say something as outrageous as that, and then transition into rapport. You know, yeah, my name's Amika. How you doing?
Right.
And she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're so crazy." I go, "No, you have no idea how crazy I am.
Right.
You're only getting started, hon." And you have that eye contact, and you have
working
that
that rapport.
connection. And can you out crazy me, huh? And you start playing a little game. You start having a little challenge going on, friendly banter, and all of a sudden you start
Yep.
kinoing.
Right.
You start touching. You're closing distance. You know, you're really cementing that soulful connection where everything else around you is kind of disappearing and you're in a trance-like state. And that's game. When you have that understanding that you can walk on water, you could say whatever the hell you want to say because you're He-Man. You know, when you get to that point, and I think it's through trial and error, then you know you've taken your game to the next level.
Right.
You've taken your game to the next level once you understand that it doesn't matter what I say. You know, if she doesn't like it, who cares? Next. You know, I believe in quantity. You know, keep on throwing into the end zone. Trust me, you're gonna score a touchdown. There's tons
Right.
of women out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge risker. I'm not throwing to the end zone every time. I like to
I don't got
have a game
I don't got a
plan.
Randy Moss out there. I'm not trying to throw it up there all the time.
Right. I'm gonna script my first 12 plays and run them. You know what I mean?
Right.
However, I always say if you don't cross the line, you'll never know where it is.
True. That's a
point.
big
Right?
one. I
You
like
gotta you gotta sometimes push that sexual tension to see where it goes. Because sometimes you push and you're like, wow, she didn't push back at all.
Yes.
I guess I need to really ramp things up a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah. But a lot of the females, one of the things I notice is that if they had that blank look in their face and they look bored, it's because the guy wasn't escalating quick enough.
Right.
You know? Sometimes when a girl just looks at you and you're talking to her, you're occupying your space, slip your hand behind her back and pull her in. You know,
See what
whisper in her ear.
happens.
You know what I mean? You got to escalate. Because like
Can I say
like
something
Sheldon
offensive
said.
on your point here?
Yeah,
I don't
go
normally do this, but I'm gonna just put it out there.
Okay,
Let's be honest. Women like shiny things,
Yes.
right? Diamond rings, expensive cars, etc.
Right.
They have a short attention span, especially in a club. You need to get in there and you need to have an objective and you need to get there. If you sit there and you're meandering, going nowhere, now she just got something shiny walk by and it's another guy who's a lot bigger than you, right? And now her attention's gone. You have to keep your pickup moving forward. It's like a shark. If it stops going forward, it's gonna die.
Well, see, that's a big thing because I watched a lot of the show. Obviously, you know, even it was good to watch for a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think the most time that you'd see where guys, for lack of a better term, just weren't coming. You know, sucked is a bad term, but they just weren't reaching their potential. Was when you'd freestyle them.
I don't know them personally, so I don't know what their interests are. But a lot of time, they start the conversation and they just have nothing to say, and you're just like, holy crap, man. Like, do you not have a hobby? Do you not see something she's wearing that you could create a conversation based on that, or what she's doing, or ask her her name? How many times did we not hear guys even ask the girl's name?
Right.
Yeah.
Like fundamentals.
Talk
Like,
4 or 5 minutes. And be like, I don't know who you are.
yeah, it's almost like these guys, it's as if they just not even educated whatsoever in social interactions to the point where they don't even really do the basics. So what we do is when we give them these challenges, all of a sudden they have the basics and then some. They have the basics and then some creativity. Because that's really what you need, like to
Right.
succeed. You need the basics, of course,
What are the
fundamentals.
basics?
The basics are just those conversation starters, the little bit of the interview process.
Right.
Getting to know the person.
Right.
Very, very straightforward, very easy. Where are you from? What's your background? Instantly, we all are very diverse, and right away, one of the best things you can ask somebody is, what's your background? Like, you have a really unique look. Like, you must be a mix of some sort. You know, boom, there's a conversation. People love talking about themselves. And therefore, you got the girl just going off about where she's from, what she does, and those things. If you're smart, you pick up on, okay, I just heard where she goes to school. I just heard where she works and what her interests are. And then now, as Sheldon's thinking a few moves ahead, any guy with game is already banking questions and things that he's going to say.
Right.
So a lot of what we found is the guys are missing those fundamentals that we wished like that they would demonstrate, but they wouldn't.